Well, this is the guy from Pittsburgh, and there's so much to talk about, good and bad, tonight. So, let's see. Well, first of all, the news of the night is that Art Bell was on Gabcast, and I got to talk to him, and that was great. And he called me Hi Buddy, which made me feel really good. I've been sending Art a lot of emails and everything I could about the typhoon because I know his wife is worried about her family over there. The typhoon hit Vietnam, and Art commented that George Noory thinks when a typhoon hits Vietnam, there's going to be rain over in Hawaii. And that was one of the funnier lines of the night. And I want to thank MV at Gabcast, owner of Bellgab, Hi Bellgabbers, for putting on the podcast for us. And he doesn't do enough of them. They're great. They're very funny. The callers are great. And tonight on Coast to Coast, well, I went in the kitchen and cooked the turkey. I forgot to baste it. Big mistake. Don't make sure you always baste your turkey because something burned in there. But the turkey was edible. I forgot to baste it because I was listening to Gabcast. And Gabcast had problems tonight. It kept dropping out, at least on my computer. Probably because Jasmunda was in the chat room, because we all know it's all his fault, even though the Gabcast people said it wasn't. We know differently, those tastier Australians. But anyway, I turn on Noory, wondering what he's talking about while I'm washing out the pan and putting the rest of the turkey in the icebox. He's got a guy talking about serial killers, psychopaths, sociopaths, animal abusers, rapists, murderers. Just the great topic we all need because, as we know, George Noory says you can't talk about the paranormal all the time, which is really funny considering a guy named Art Bell from a trailer in Pahrump, Nevada, did it for years. And when he wasn't doing it from the trailer, he was driving to Las Vegas, 90 miles, 90 minutes, whatever the hell it is, all the way to Las Vegas every night, all the way back to Pahrump. And on the way there, he and his wife saw a big triangular UFO coming down at him. I keep wondering why they didn't stop in L.A. or St. Louis and abduct Noory, except they probably would have thrown him back in the middle of a crop circle. But you never know with aliens what the hell they're going to do, what their motivations are. That's why they're aliens. And so I said, gee, that's such a thrilling subject, George, like those. You can't always do paranormal shows with Pat Boone and Billy Mumy because George is obsessed with the Twilight Zone. And Debbie Reynolds and Shirley Jones, who I'll admit I had a crush on when she was on the Partridge Family. She's hot then, she's still hot. And Marty Ingalls, who hasn't done anything since I'm Dickens, he's fenced her. I don't know what's with that guy, except he's a bit nutty. And even she admits that. But anyway, Art Bell called up Gabcast, and it was a great interview. People got to talk to him. I asked him if they can't stop you from writing books, and the reason I asked that was so he stays in the public eye. So if he came out with another couple books, people would know who the hell he is. Because a lot of people don't know who Art Bell is. And I hope he can find an attorney to get him out of that non-compete clause so he can do what he wants to do, which is streaming radio. I got my glasses on because I'm tired of squinting at the screen. And speaking of glasses, last Friday, unsolicited, unexpected, George Noory sent an email. He says, "Hi, guy from Pittsburgh. How you doing? Did you ever get your glasses? I'm willing to help you pay for them." Well, I didn't ask George this. This came out of the blue. It dumbfounded me and shocked me. I got enough grief from Bellgabbers on another issue, which they know about. But I didn't solicit George Noory to send me $180 for glasses or $400 for titanium glasses. And if I were less honest, I would say, sure, George, my glasses cost $1,000. at Sight for Four Eyes, because I went in there and I saw glasses are ranging from $800 to $4,000. I could tell George, hey George, $1,000. Go down to Costco, get the glasses for $180, or go to coastal.com and get them for about the same. Pocket the rest of the money, go down to the Apple store and get me a new iPad Lite or whatever they're calling it, which would be great. I could use an iPad as much as the next guy. Of course, I probably couldn't listen to gabcast because I understand they use Flash, and Apple and Steve Jobs hate Flash. I personally never understood that. The user should be one deciding what to use on their Mac or their PC or their laptop or their iPad or their Kindle or Android or their Android Watch or whatever the hell. It's not some guy in Sunnyvale or some guy in Washington. But these companies never think of that. They never think of the poor bum that's paying their salaries by buying their equipment, buying their software. So anyway, I got to thinking about that, and I said, I've been laying into George pretty heavy lately. I know he's watched my videos because he's complained about my living room. But if he helps me buy the glasses, I could do it on the can't think of the word here. I could do it with the codicil that I repay him, and then he takes that money and helps somebody else out. So I got to thinking about that. And then I got thinking just before that this would leave me with less integrity, and it would compromise me in some way, because then I wouldn't feel right about it. Going after Noory for his flubs, his miscues, his mistakes. And so I was about to tell him, I accepted, and then I said, I was about to tell him to change my mind, George, when the bombshell dropped, boom, that George, and I don't care what George says, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of Bellgabbers are concerned, and probably a lot of Art Bell listeners, George went behind his back along with Premier and Sirius and took over Art Bell's channel. Now, George sent me an email. He called me a jerk. What a wonderful thing to say to a guy who's listened to Coast and Art Bell and Dark Matter since 1990. It's a real way to make friends and influence people, George, because I put that on Bellgab, and you could figure I was going to put that on a video. And he said he hadn't had time to look at his email as he was going from LA to St. Louis. Now, he sent me that email on Friday, offering me to pay for my glasses. He didn't reply to me till Tuesday, and the reason he replied to me is I said, George, you're a liar. You stabbed Art in the back. You took over his channel. And if you had any integrity, you'd tell Sirius and Premier, no, I'm not going to do it. Either Art is supposed to be my friend, I'm supposed to respect Art, and this would not look good. It would damage my image. I'm not going to do it. But instead, Art, George wussed out like he usually does, being a total company man. He took over George's channel, and in his email to me, he said, what are you thinking about? His words to the effect, my show is on earlier than Art's was, so I'm not taking his channel at all. I said, well, you know what? If you go out there with your car, George, and my parking space is marked George, and you drive into my parking space, and I come down to park my car, and you're in my parking space, and that's been my parking space for 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, you're still in my parking space, George. You got to move your car. That slot and that whole time bank and evening should have been reserved for the return of Art Bell. And there's no way in hell that George couldn't have known about this. Programming and radio and television And entertainment and events are planned days and weeks in advance. You got to negotiate. You got to talk about things. You got to sign contracts. You got to sign deals. You got to make arrangements. You got to have people to take care of things. You got to have phone lines coming in. Now, isn't it funny that Art had trouble getting phone lines? But this guy, Noory, he's on the air like that. Bam. They got ads all up over Sirius, Art Bell has left. But we got George Noory on the radio over here. We got George Noory on Sirius over here. And we're streaming on that stream link that you can get for pennies a day. Remember that? Just remember, it's always pennies a day with Noory. Yeah, but he ain't the one paying for the pennies, so it doesn't matter to him. And so Art has trouble getting Streamlink. Not Streamlink. Art has trouble getting streaming. Sirius is ignoring his emails. Sirius is ignoring his phone calls. Now we know why. It's a big conspiracy to make sure Art doesn't get back on the air. And they put Noory in because Noory's complacent, and he has the nerve to call me a jerk. I told him flat, you're stabbing the guy that you said in an interview on Gabcast. And I know it's not called Gabcast, but I can never remember the name of the tech form or whatever it's called. So I apologize, MB. You said that if Art and you were in a bar, you'd buy him a drink. No, Noory, if Art and you were in a bar, and you didn't say buy him a drink. I stand to correct it. I'm sorry. It's late. You'd open the door for him. Well, Noory, you'd probably open the door for him, knock him to the ground, stomp on his face, and walk out. That's the kind of pal you are. You wouldn't have his back. You'd stab him in the back and complain the knife got too bloody. You don't do that to someone you claim you respect. You don't do that to the man who was instrumental in giving you the job in the first place. Yeah, I know Premier went to St. Louis. They heard you do the Nighthawk. And I can't use a word I want to use. I'll say it. It's not the word I want to use either, but the crap hawk. I don't know what, if they listened to one show, and Art said tonight, it's obvious that Premier has never listened to his shows, and he doesn't think they listen to Noory's either, because all they care about is the bucks. They care about the money right here. They don't care if Noory does a good show, a crappy show, a mediocre show, as long as he shows up. And I guess they don't care about listener complaints or any of that other stuff either. Gave him a lifetime contract. It may be a lifetime contract to George. It's a prison sentence to the listeners. We got a life sentence to serve. We got a man who every time he lies about something, his mustache gets bigger. So anyway, that's what I decided to talk about tonight. I'm so glad Art was interviewed. I'm so glad that Bellgab got to call him and ask questions. I told him he ought to write revised editions of The Art of Coast, The Art of Talk. God, what's work me tonight? And the coming global superstorm with Whitley, because the weather has changed. It just had the biggest typhoon in history hit the Philippines, and those poor people have been killed in the thousands. And he needs to write a new book, and he could write a new book in The Art of Talk and The Source and The Quickening, because things have been quickening and sickening. And I'm sick of hearing Noory's prattle. Now, he offered that I could still, after calling me a jerk, and yeah, I insult him in my videos, and I've insulted him in my posts because I find his behavior insulting. I find his program insulting. And I heard him tonight, and I realized for the first time I'm in the kitchen, I'm hearing him talking. And he starts saying, well, what about sociopaths? What about murderers? What about serial killers? And I realized the guy sounds like he's reading off of 3x5 cards that you take notes on in high school. There's no spontaneity there. There's no heart there. Art doesn't talk to the guests beforehand. He doesn't read their books because he doesn't have any influence. But you feel there's spontaneity. Art's having fun. This guy could be reading off the sports page. He'd be reading a racing form. And, and in the second at Hialeah, there's a horse named Stretton George, BMOC, and Atom Power. And you'd go, how boring, this guy's reading off the form. That's the difference between Art and Noory. Art's engaging. Art makes you want to listen. Noory wants to either make you turn off the radio, go to sleep, or take your radio and dump it in a bucket with the plug still in it. So that everything goes dark and never have to listen to the radio again. So anyway, I'm making plans. Blue Microphones has a little ball microphone, different colors. My girlfriend hates grapes, so I'm seriously thinking of getting one for doing this and eventually doing podcasts with Tertiary Mom. I hope I got the name right this time. And it's $69 at Amazon on sale. They get the same microphone as their Blue Yeti in there. And I'm getting a thumb drive for OS 7 so I can do other things in here. We're working on getting the podcast. I gotta get Skype working, my password. So pretty soon we'll have the guy from Pittsburgh and Tertiary Imam show, although I think we may call him instead of Tertiary Imam because people have enough time with my handle Falky and my email falky2013@gmail. They have enough time to spell on that without trying to say Tertiary Imam. So I think we'll rename him for the purpose of the show. Mention his handle on Bellgab, but then we'll call him George Noory Sucks because George Noory hates the phrase George Noory Sucks. And then every time he'd hear our podcast, he'd hear a guy saying, "Hi, my name is George Noory Sucks." So I think that'd be great fun. George wanted MB to remove the George Noory Sucks thread, and it's never going to happen. It's on 402 pages, and God knows how Art Bell quits. Dark Matters is probably hundreds of pages now too, and it keeps rolling along, and that's because between Art Bell and George Noory, it's never a dull moment. It's not party time, but there's always something going on. That's why the board will stay up for years, maybe even after both these guys, God forbid, are dead. And someone said, "Yeah, I hate Noory." No, I don't hate Noory. I hate what he's done to the show, and I hate that comes off as really dumb. And Art said at one time, George gets it. And I want to know something, Art. When did George have it? Tell us that, Art. We love you, but when did George have it? Did he have it when he asked if asteroids have brains? Did he ask when he asked how it was to eat a bee? Or some of the other things he says? Is that somebody who has it? Because if he has it, I don't want it. I think he's lost it. I don't think he ever had it. And that's all I got to say for tonight. I'll catch you later. It's been fun on Bellgab all the time, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.